The psychology behind why people don't carry emergency sleeping bags reveals something disturbing about human nature, and understanding this mental trap might literally save your life. What I'm about to explain will change how you think about risk, preparedness, and the stories we tell ourselves about safety. First, let's talk about optimism bias, the psychological tendency to believe bad things happen to other people, not us. When you read about hikers dying from exposure, part of your brain automatically thinks, that won't happen to me because I'm more careful, more experienced, more prepared. This thinking kills people. I interviewed a dozen people who survived exposure emergencies, and every single one said the same thing. I never thought it would happen to me. They weren't reckless people. They were experienced outdoors enthusiasts who had done the same activities hundreds of times without incident. Optimism bias made them believe their experience was protection against bad luck and changing conditions. Then there's the normalization of deviance, gradually accepting lower safety standards because nothing bad has happened yet. You go on 10-day hikes without emergency gear and nothing goes wrong, so your brain concludes that emergency gear isn't necessary. This is the same psychological trap that causes major disasters in aviation, nuclear power, and other high-risk industries. Social proof bias plays a huge role too. If your hiking buddies don't carry emergency sleeping bags, your brain assumes they're not necessary. We unconsciously model our behavior on what we see others doing, even when those others might be making dangerous choices. Just because everyone does something doesn't make it safe. There's also something called the planning fallacy, our tendency to underestimate how long tasks will take and overestimate our ability to handle unexpected situations. You plan a 6-hour hike and assume you can handle anything that goes wrong in that time frame. But what happens when that 6-hour hike becomes a 14-hour survival situation due to injury, weather, or getting lost? The availability heuristic is another mental trap. We judge the likelihood of events based on how easily we can remember examples. Since most people don't personally know anyone who died from exposure, their brains conclude it's extremely rare. But statistically, exposure kills more outdoor enthusiasts than all other wilderness hazards combined. Here's the really insidious part, the sunk cost fallacy applied to gear decisions. People think, I've already spent so much money on outdoor gear, I don't need to spend more on emergency items. But the gear you've already bought doesn't protect against the scenarios where emergency gear matters most. There's also what psychologists call system justification, our tendency to defend and justify the current system, even when it's flawed. People who don't carry emergency gear will come up with elaborate rationalizations for why it's unnecessary, because admitting they need it would require acknowledging their current approach is inadequate. The solution to all these psychological traps is what I call productive paranoia. Instead of trusting your optimistic instincts, deliberately imagine worst-case scenarios and prepare for them. Instead of following social proof, research what actual experts and professionals carry. Instead of relying on past experience, plan for situations outside your experience. When you understand these psychological biases, carrying an emergency sleeping bag isn't about being paranoid or fearful. It's about being psychologically sophisticated enough to overcome the mental traps that put people at risk. You're literally outsmarting your own brain's dangerous assumptions about safety and risk.